call this meeting, the Oskaloosa City Council, to order. Today is Monday, July 21st. We start with the invocation from Lifehouse Community Church.
My name is Adam Kyle from Lifehouse Community Church, 1513 South Market Street. If you will just allow me to read one piece of scripture here, and then I will pray for us. This comes from Romans chapter 15, verse 13. It's actually a Bible verse of encouragement. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Will you please bow your heads and pray with me. Oh Lord Jesus, we love you so much, and we thank you, God, for your sacrifice. Please forgive us, the city, Lord, of our sins. And we know that you do because you died on the cross for us, Lord. And you love us, and you care for us, and you think of us. I pray for the city council meeting and the government that we have before us. God, that you would bless them and watch over them and protect them from the enemy, from this world, and from their own flesh, Lord. I pray, Lord, that you'll give them unity. You'll give them unified hearts, one spirit, one meaning, to protect our city and to guide us and to lead us and to make us prosperous. So, Lord, I ask that you lead this meeting. Give all of the governing authorities wisdom, insight, and discernment. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Eldry.
Here.
Dross.
Here.
Hermsen.
Here.
Holmer.
Here.
Ibrahim.
Here.
Ocean.
Here.
Allman.
Here.
Okay, thank you. First item up today is the opportunity for community comments. This item is reserved to receive comments from the community for concerns whether or not they're included in the current agenda. Community is encouraged to speak before the mayor and city council, asked to keep statements brief, time limited to no more than 3 minutes. Any questions are to be asked of the city staff, council members, or the mayor prior to speaking to the full council, so that way concerns can be properly researched and perhaps answered away from the meeting. Comments are to be directed to the mayor and city council only. We do have the policy that before, in the past, we've had people just walk up to the microphone, say their name and address. Now we have it where there are yellow slips, and then I'll call to the public as needed. So let's start with Andrew Gross at 1402 8th Avenue West.
Right before I was ready with minutes. So, 1402 8th Avenue West is a property that my wife and I recently purchased and are working on moving into. It's been an adventure. And one of the first things we noticed is that that road is hurting. It's really busted up. Apparently there's a farmer that owns the field down the end of the street, drives his semis back and forth. So it doesn't seem like that road is really going to get better. Had some conversations with our neighbors, and their big concern was that they're going to be inconvenienced for a while. I personally don't see that as a huge obstacle. I think that the advantages of replacing that roadway and adding sidewalks vastly outweigh the inconvenience for, I think it was quoted as 45 days. When we bought the property, it was Paul and Dee, I believe, and that was actually one of the things they left on the board for us, was the printout saying this is going to be 45 days, here's what's going to be updated, yes, you're going to be inconvenienced, but here's all the stuff that is also going to benefit you from this update. So yeah, I actually printed out and looked through the preliminary planning materials today, and some of the things that I really appreciate about the planning is that they're talking about, yeah, we have to take out mailboxes, but then we're going to replace them. Yes, we're going to inconvenience you, but we're going to set up extra parking so that you have somewhere to leave your vehicle to get back to your house. Again, inconvenience for 6 weeks, but to me, that's totally worth it. Regrading the street so that it drains properly. Currently, our curb and where we're at on the street does not drain properly. It's actually, I've been replacing a sump pump for the last week and a half, so that's been super fun. Yeah, and then updating the driveways as well, again, with the curb and the drainage going onto the street. I think that that would be very important and helpful because there is a lot of pooling along pretty much every driveway on that street. And then also my understanding is that it would be a future connection to the rec trail going down M.
Potentially.
So I think that that is an absolutely advantageous thing, not only for our street, but also for the entire community. And then on top of that, for specifically my wife, she likes walking our dog, and she doesn't like doing that on the street. So having a sidewalk where she could do that, especially when it will eventually have access to the rec trail, I think would be hugely advantageous for us. Yeah, and so then the other big thing, like I said, with all the pooling that's happening on the street, I think that redoing the curbs and redoing the drainage, what I saw in the planning is that regrading that street should help with drainage quite a bit. And same thing on the sidewalks, is that it makes sense the way that it's laid out, in my opinion. So, yeah, I just wanted to say my piece on that because, yeah, my neighbors, what they're saying is that they feel like they're going to be inconvenienced. And that's the biggest headache with it. So my personal opinion, my wife's opinion, is that the inconvenience is worth it in the long run, looking at the future of that neighborhood, the future of the city. And specifically, I think it's a beautiful neighborhood.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Time's up, sir.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you very much. Okay. Angela Foster.
Good evening. I'm Angela Foster, 2288 Lynn Avenue here in Oskaloosa. I've got my Main Street hat on. I've got two things I would like to share with the mayor and the council. We had a wonderful Iowa Downtown Forum that came, we were asked to host it, one of 4 in the state. On June 26th, we had approximately 60 people that showed up for the forum. We had a wonderful turnout. It was kind of a learning session for the people that attended, more of what can you do to revitalize your downtown. We had a lot of positive things that were talked to us about our town. And I want to thank Sean Chris because some of the things that came up in that meeting that were maybe things to work on, he's already taken action on doing that. So thank you, Sean, for doing that. And then I want to invite everybody to Sweet Corn Serenade, which is this Thursday. We will have our vendors and our food trucks there starting at noon, and they will go until 9. And then we will have hamburgers and corn will be served at 4 p.m. And then we have live music starting at 4:30. And of course, we have the alley music that will start at 6 to 8, and then our wonderful city band at 8 p.m. So please join us.
Thanks, Angie.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on into the consent agenda, these are all items that are routine in nature and generally get voted on as a single item. I did want to draw the council's attention to a few things here. Item C is to consider approval of a liquor license, and so there's going to be the need for Bob to abstain on that, so we'll pull that off as a separate item for vote. Item G is a motion appointing a representative to the Civil Service Commission. I need to pull that off in order to do some further due diligence before making that appointment. And then item K is a resolution scheduling a public hearing on August 18th, levying a special assessment against private property for weed cutting. And item L is a resolution scheduling a public hearing on vacation and sale of a 122.5 foot by 16.5 foot section of north-south alley adjacent to 511 North B Street. And item M, that's a resolution setting a public hearing for August 18th as well, levying a special assessment for nuisance abatement at 921 North E Street in accordance with Oskaloosa Municipal Code. And so with those adjustments to the consent agenda, do I have a motion of support?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Drost,
Yes.
Hermsen,
Yes.
Holmberg,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Ocean,
Yes.
Allman,
Yes.
Caligiuri,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Now let's go back to item C. This is to consider approval of liquor license applications. Do we have a motion of support for this?
So moved.
Second. Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hermsen,
Yes.
Holmberg,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Ocean,
Yes.
Allman,
Yes.
Caligiuri,
Yes.
Drost,
Abstain. Okay. That passes. Getting us into the regular agenda. First up is a presentation from the Green Iowa AmeriCorps members on their activities for 2025.
While she's getting set up. So we're Green Iowa AmeriCorps members out of the Haskell County Conservation. Our office is over at the ELC, so that's our host site. We've been doing projects in connection with the Soil and Water Conservation District, William Penn University, and then the city of Oskaloosa. So we figured since the city has been contributing to the host site and having activities for us to do, we just give a brief presentation about that's what we've been doing since last September. Sure. Thank you. Thank you for having us tonight.
And please, as close to the microphone as you can be.
Yes.
Yeah, not so much for us, but for the viewing audience.
And you can move it.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Also, my name is Ella Paulson.
Okay.
And my name is Lily Moeen.
Okay.
Dad.
It's on.
Okay. So the Green Iowa AmeriCorps its mission is to empower Iowa for a greener future through service, education, and engagement. And we do have several focus areas, including environmental education, community outreach, energy services, greenhouse gas inventory, waste audits and productions, tree planting, and water quality, stuff like that. There are 19 locations across the state, so we're just one of 19. And the partners include everybody from the city of Ames, the Center for Energy and Environmental Education at the University of Northern Iowa, White Rock Conservancy, Trees Forever, Table to Table, these are just some of the few that are in partnership with Green Iowa. And we are specifically at the Oskaloosa County Conservation Partnership, like Ella was saying, and we do this in collaboration with the SWCE, William Penn, and the city of Oskaloosa.
So we've helped with quite a few education programs throughout the year. We've both done presented OWLS programs at the ELC, which is Older, Wiser, Livelier Souls, so basically adult programs. We've presented about a little bit of our research. We've helped with other programs like Clover Kids. We did that over in Powhatan County, but we've also helped our naturalist Laura with programs and done educational programs for elementary schoolers as well. We've both done stuff to work on our professional development. I got to, through this program, do my wildland firefighter type 2 training, so I was able to be qualified for that. Lily went to Dubuque Sustainable Communities Conference and gave a presentation about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the natural resources field. Let's see, trying to do a brief. We do a lot of park upgrades and maintenance, so sometimes we'll do invasive species removal, so work with chainsaws. We spend a long time refurbishing picnic tables over the winter. It took us a couple months, and then I designed as part of my professional development project new entrance signs, which should hopefully be up at the parks in the next couple of months.
Sure, yeah. Our signs are very pretty, by the way, so be on the lookout for those. We have also been ongoing this native plant project, and this has been months in the making. And Miriam at the Soil and Water Conservation District, bless her heart, because she has really been putting in the work. We started them from seeds, and then stratified them, put them in the fridge, left them in there, and I'm talking, we transplanted seedlings super, super tiny, trying to get their little roots in there. And you see some of those across the city today, because we have planted a lot of those in the medians, right in front of Hy-Vee, as well as by the Lacey Complex. And they should be kind of small right now, but they'll get bigger, and they'll look really pretty and attract pollinators, hopefully. We were also going to plant them in front of we have planted them in front of our environmental learning center that is with the Oskaloosa County Conservation, and then at the library too. So those should look very pretty soon. We also kind of work in a team across our sites. So earlier when I mentioned that there's sites across the state, we do have partnerships sometimes. And with this, we've gone and presented about one of our parks at an Earth Expo in Iowa City that had a pretty high attendance rate, so hopefully we got our ideal dunes on the map for some people who had no idea that we have prickly pear in Iowa. We also have partnered with Good Ventures in certain counties, United Way Summer Lunch Program here in Oskaloosa, and that's been really fun, helping them pack lunches every Wednesday, as well as the Iowa City Free Lunch Program. So we are utilized across the board, and it's been pretty fun. Let me just, okay, here we go.
These are just some pictures from throughout our service term. One of the ones at the top is when we went to that Earth Expo and presented about the sand dunes. We've got some pictures from our Clover kids. We did a rain barrel workshop. That was with Women Landed Legacy, the Mahaska Marian chapter of that. We were able to build and sell rain barrels, some pictures of the native plants of us growing and planting, and then there's the dog picture of Rosa was from one of the Bark Ranger programs we did to get some dogs out to Eland Access, and they had like a costume contest and a hot dog bombing.
Yes, Rocky did bomb the hot dog, and he did get a few. I think he's been adopted, unfortunately, fortunately, right, out of the shelter. A lot of prescribed burns we've done as well. I don't know if you've seen us around, but that was a very hot but rewarding experience. And we've also attended things like a capital meeting when it came to certain agricultural policies. Our supervisors were really kind enough to kind of allow us into that space and just observe, listen, and kind of see how those legal proceedings go. So that was really neat. I took a picture inside the Capitol. I'm not from Iowa, and so getting to experience being in the Capitol was very neat, and that building is beautiful. And those are just a few pictures also from that conference I attended. And yeah, some kids getting their hands dirty with one of our Clover Kids lessons. And I think that is all we have. If anybody has any questions.
I had a question on the plantings that are being done. Are they perennial in nature, or is, okay.
So they're going to be here hopefully for years.
That'd be great. That's awesome.
Yeah. And they are native to Iowa, so
Yes, sir.
no issues there either. Okay. Other questions from council?
Very cool.
All right, thank you.
Nice.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much
Thank
for
you.
your work.
Thank you for having us.
Moving on to item B, this is the opportunity for a little bit of an education. We've got a presentation on conflict of interest. Not often that we have Dave Dixon take the stage.
Thank you. We obviously, in a couple of our meetings, have had some issues and questions come up about conflicts of interest, and Lisa had some questions. I don't know if it was our last meeting or not, but I was asked to go ahead and try to put together some stuff for you, so I put together a little bit of information here for you. I can go through with you, and I think you've got copies of all those attached too. If you look at what I've got some of the core supporting statutory things, also things out of city ordinances, and then I have two other supporting secondary documents, if you will, one from the League of Cities and the second one from the Policy Leaders Handbook that I think most of you probably have that they've gotten out to us, which are very useful things. To some extent, the latter two are just summarizing once again basically the statutory things. But if you look at these statutory provisions, starting out in the Code of Iowa, there are two key code chapters really relating to the heart of the matter. Number one is Chapter 68B, and that's the first one I've got here. That specifically is styled to address conflicts of interest, and as you can note from looking at it, of course, this says anyone who's employed or served in a political subdivision of the state won't engage in any of the following conduct. Outside employment, which would involve the use of the city's facilities, equipment, supplies, that sort of thing. Next one, it sets forth outside employment that would involve receipt of money from anyone other than the state, or in this case, I should say, anyone other than the city for the performance of the official duties otherwise you're supposed to be doing as that official. Those two are pretty straightforward. The third one is one that becomes a little more problematic, I think, in application when you look at it, and that speaks to outside employment of anybody who's a member of city employee or city staff. Outside employment, which is subject to the control, inspection, review, or enforcement of authority of that person during the performance of their official duties. That one, once again, it's a little trickier on application. The first two are pretty clear on that. If you look to the third one, though, and you have to sometimes think through on those things, but it does say, of course, if you run into that situation, then number one, the person should either stop their outside employment or publicly disclose the conflict, then decline or refrain from taking any official action on it or abstaining from voting on the thing if you have a situation like that that does develop. The second, now that's, once again, that's kind of a quick summary of the thing. The second key chapter is in Code of Iowa, that's chapter 362, interest in public contracts, and that's more a situation where somebody is contracting to do services for the city or something of that nature. And it provides, of course, city officer or employee can't or should not have an interest in any contract or job for work or material or the profits for services furnished to the city. But they note that does not apply to several things, and they set forth those. Jumping kind of through the list, the first two don't have too much relevance for us, but if you got on some of the others. Contracts made by a city upon competitive bid, number one. Now, number two is the one, once again, with that, or I should say sub E here. It's kind of where you get into a situation where there could be more questions that come up. Contracts in which a city officer or employee has an interest solely by reason of their employment, if the contracts are made by competitive bidding, or if, I'm sorry, I skipped over a key part of it, backing up. These are exceptions to those above prohibitions, though, and they say that you don't have a conflict situation if the contract is one where it's made by competitive bidding, or if the payment or the employment will not be directly affected and the duties don't directly involve procurement or preparation of any part of the contract. Or, once again, you've got some if the contract was made before the person was elected, or you can have a situation, once again, where those prohibitions upon interest in public contracts don't apply if the contract is with a corporation in which a city officer has an interest solely by reason of being a stockholder with less than 5% ownership interest in the corporation. Now, if you look, the next one I've got going on to the next page, this actually rolls over to prohibitions that are set forth in Oskaloosa city ordinances, where we have a section on conflict of interest too, which is in code section, or ordinance, I should say, 2.32. It says a city employee or officer shall not have an interest, direct or indirect, in any contract or job for work to be furnished or performed for the city. But then again, they note this doesn't apply though. And if you jump down to D, contracts in which a city officer has an interest solely by reason of their employment, if made by competitive bid, and if the remuneration will not be directly affected as a result of the contract, and the duties of employment do not directly involve procurement and preparation of any part of the contract. That essentially, grammatically, that's a little bit different formulation, but essentially that's saying pretty much the same things the state code does. Once again, there are a few grammatical differences, but essentially it's looking to the same thing. Likewise, under the same caveat that conflict situations don't arise, also speaks to a contract with a corporation in which a city officer or employee has an interest by reason of stock ownership when less than 5% of the ownership interest is with them. Now, if you look, and once again, that's kind of a quick highlight of the provisions in state code and city ordinances that we have in place relative to conflicts. A lot of it is common sense sort of stuff. Once again, it does get it gets trickier with some of it. But then, as I pointed out, there are a number of things in the code that says, but these conflict situations don't apply in certain situations, or if they do, then an individual should abstain from voting on those issues. Now, if you look, rolling on the next page, secondary analysis, these are copies of the materials that I've gleaned from the first one is from the Iowa League of Cities materials that they have available online about it. And if you look, once again, essentially it says the same thing I've just told you. It's citing to Iowa Code Chapter 68B on the first page, and then rolling over to the next page, once again saying if you do have a conflict of interest, however, the individual should either cease the outside employment or disclose the existence of the conflict and refrain from taking any action or participating in a vote on it. Next section, once again, is section or chapter 362, interest in public contracts, the one we talked about before. And as noted there, when you go a little further down the page, it does note some exceptions once again to the rule, saying, of course, it exempts contracts in which the officer or employee has an interest solely by reason of employment if the contract is through a competitive bid, the contracts with the corporation in which the officer or employee has an interest by reason of stock holdings of less than 5%, or contracts made before they were a city employee or official. Rolling on to the next page, and I apologize, I'm scanning over some of this pretty quickly. Obviously, you can read through these in more detail at your leisure. Next one, though, if you roll on down, Iowa Municipal Leaders Policy Handbook. This, I suspect most of you probably all have this. Andy, I think I gave you a copy recently when you came on board. If you don't, you can readily find this with a Google search. This is readily available. And if you look, once again, it's the same things I've referred to a couple times already. It cites, of course, to Iowa Code Chapter 362. Once again, setting forth some exceptions to that, though, the same thing we've talked about, contract with a corporation in which a city official owns stock, less than 5% of the business. Some other exceptions, if you roll on down the page, of course, it notes if a city official has happened to vote on an item and later find there was a conflict of interest, that does not invalidate the measure, however, unless it was determined the vote in question was a deciding vote on the issue. On to the final page of what I've attached for you. Once again, that cites to Iowa Code Chapter 68B, the conflict of interest, which once again has the same summary recitation of the things I've told you before. You know, don't use government resources to further their outside employment, or they can't get compensation from anyone other than the city for doing work that's part of their official duties, or if outside employment is subject to the control, inspection, review, or enforcement of the city official or city employees, in which event then you need to disclose the conflict and abstain from voting on it. So that's kind of a quick summary of it. Once again, I apologize because I've kind of said the same thing several times over there. But, you know, you can take a look. Once again, the heart of it are those statutorily, those three things, Chapter 68B of the Code of Iowa, and then the 362. And then the similar provisions in city ordinances, which pretty much mirrors, quite frankly, the state statutory stuff. Once again, some minor grammatical differences. But that, in a nutshell, is kind of an overview of it. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try to address them. Sure, please.
Very nice overview. I've been able to read this myself. Could you perhaps give an example of what might be a conflict of, you know, just Joe Blow does this, and this would be an example, you know.
Well,
because I've used the example, you know, Jesus Christ, high, you know, ethics, okay? But if Jesus Christ were at City Hall and influencing, you know, a certain contract and that to use Joseph as the carpenter, that's a conflict of interest. You know, if I were at City Hall saying, oh, we should use Windsor windows, they're the best windows around, and maybe they are, but my husband works for Windsor windows, you know, and so I may abstain from voting. But if I've tried to influence the vote,
well, then
you know.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
And
off.
anyway, I just know that when I ran for state office, you had to sign off that I would not make, and for me it was quite easy, I did not make more than $1,000 from stock interests in any of these things. You had to just really sign off on a legal document that you did not stand to gain from any of these things, and that. And so I also, too, I don't see, because I can have all the rules in the world, but if my kids know there's no punishment, you shouldn't do that. But there's no punishment. What's the punishment for conflict of interest? Is it
Well, and you've got
a fine, a removal from office, a slap on the wrist? I don't know.
And you've got, I'm sorry, a couple different questions
I do.
rolled up, obviously, in what you said. First of all, your question was, of course, some specific examples.
Yeah. So
And
we
if
can
you
see
look
it.
at-
We're not lawyers.
And actually, the final page of the materials where it's got the summary from the policy handbook is probably the clearest formulation for some of those, is indicates city officials cannot use government resources to further their outside employment. Okay, say that Sean says, I want to send the city workers out to re-roof my house. Well, obviously that's problematic. And Sean, not to put you on the horns of the dilemma, we'll make Pam the next example.
Just redo a sidewalk, right?
Let's say that Pam is receiving some pay from somebody other than the city for doing some work that's part of her official duties. If she is, of course, auditing the city books, and if Elon Musk decides, well, I'd like to build a Tesla plant in Oskaloosa and I'd like you to audit this for me, and he wants to pay you for that. That may be a little more extreme example, trying to string it out. Third, if outside employment is subject to control, inspection, review, or enforcement by city officials. And that one, once again, as I told you at the outset going through this one, that one's a little more problematic when you're looking at some of that. But say that you have a city employee who is a city building inspector, and he's also a private contractor, and he builds a new garage for you, Lisa. And then he comes to the city and says, well, I'm the city building inspector, I'm going to approve of the building I just built. That obviously would be problematic with that. Now, to your other question, what do you do, or what happens for violation of the rules or the statutes? If you come to my office, and I think you've probably been there, I have sitting behind me on the credence of the Code of Iowa, and I tell people all the time, there are lots of thou shalt nots in that code, and people violate that every day, but there are consequences when you do violate those rules. And vis-a-vis the city, number one, as I've indicated and set forth in the materials here, if the vote on a particular matter, even if somebody had a conflict, if they violate that duty and if they vote on that, that does not invalidate the vote unless they were the deciding vote on the issue. Now, that's from the city standpoint. From your individual standpoint, what do you do, though? What's the penalty or what's the punishment if somebody, for the individual that may violate something? Offhand, I've not researched that issue to give you a definite answer. My thinking would be, if you have somebody that does something like that, there are provisions in the code for removal of people from office. If you have a situation where somebody is having some egregious violation, obviously they could be subject to some criminal charges being filed against them in the situation. I'm trying to imagine some plausible scenarios on that. And once again, I've not researched that end of it, so don't take this as gospel on those points. But the point I'm trying to make is, yes, there can be consequences. I've focused more on the city end of it rather than on the individual end of it. But I know we've got some provisions in place where ultimately steps can be taken to try to remove someone from office. That's never an easy thing to do, or never anything that should be undertaken lightly. But there can, as with the code sitting behind me on the credenza at my office, people do violate that stuff. I mean, you can read the Sunday Register, as you've said, as a legislator. You had to take a pledge to certain things. Well, my gosh, you happen to read in the Register about some folks that may be transgressing what their sworn obligations are. So there can be some consequences.
Other questions from council?
Must be clear as mud.
Oh, this is
Thrilling reading.
Okay, very good. Moving on, item C. This is the item for the monthly update on the YMCA natatorium completion project. Let's see, Stu, you got it.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. As the memo states, this is in reference to the natatorium completion and the contract with Carly Nelson. So please keep that in mind as we go through these updates that this is contract with Carly Nelson as moving forward. So I'd just like to start, June 26th, we entered into that contract with Carly Nelson to have the pool work complete and the completion of the overall building, which we refer to as the natatorium. Since then, we have building permits, insurances, and bonds secured. All of Canco's prime subcontractors, which means those who bid on bid packages 1 through 8, have been issued and signed their contracts. Along with that, submittal exchange, which is what Carly Nelson is using as their way to communicate with all subcontractors, is established. They are exchanging product data, they are exchanging dates on when things can be delivered, they are exchanging shop drawings and samples of said paint, said tile that needs to be replaced, and those things. So that is established. Also with that, kind of on the more of the, I guess I would call it the non-working side. So we have weekly construction meetings established. We had our first one on July 17th. Those will continue weekly. Those will be held live. And what we are planning on there is the contractors that are currently doing work will be mandatory. Those who may work 6 months from now is optional. And as they go with that. And in that weekly, in the weekly meeting, there's a 3-week calendar that is updated with projects that are either that we've had progress on or upcoming dates, and those are kind of target dates for the subcontractors, and also a way for us to say, hey, we are seeing progress week by week. So some of that might become a little much to say, okay, in 1 week we've done this, but I think that's a great way for Carly Nelson to keep people on track and know that we're getting to our goals. So that's the weekly construction. As far as actual progress at the YMCA, there's a temporary road access complete. There is construction fence erected, and their mobile trailer is on site along with their foreman. So they've got the place locked up and ready to start. Subcontractors, the first one will be Peterson Construction. They were part of bid package 1. They will be on site to begin mobilization and begin work by August 1st. So set up the week starting July 28th, be working by that Friday, August 1st. And then Western Specialties will be following them in the week of August 4th to start doing some prepping on some walls and progress there.
Okay.
You update on that?
Thanks, Stu.
Awesome. It's
Good to see progress,
Okay.
right?
Very good, thank you, Stu. Okay, moving on to item D. This is to consider a resolution for the vacation and sale of 2.14 acres of street right-of-way. It's along Gateway Drive. Staff is making the request. Gateway Drive has a large segment of public right-of-way adjacent to the roadway that's not needed for public use of the roads and could be used as a property for development. Subject property is located in a general commercial zoning district. There is public water main running adjacent to the property, so some of the land would be subject to a permanent water main easement, and that's included in the request. Planning and Zoning considered the request at their meeting on July 8th, and as required by Oski Municipal Code Section 12.24020, they recommended the city vacate the right-of-way by a vote of 6-0. Staff is recommending the City Council approve the resolution. And this does require a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this tonight? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion of support for this resolution?
So moved.
Second. Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Holmberg,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Ocean,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes.
Caligiuri,
Yes.
Dross,
Yes.
Hermson,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item E. This is to consider an ordinance revising Chapter 8.20.060, having to do with assessments to update publishing requirements for weed cutting assessments. And this is the first reading. Staff is recommending an ordinance revising this chapter to update publishing requirements to match the state code for public hearing notices on weed cutting. State legislature adopted a new law that was effective July 1st, 2025, streamlined the public notice publishing timeframes to mirror the standard found in Section 362.3 of the Iowa State Code. And that states notices have to be published not less than 4 and not more than 20 days before a public hearing or other action is taken. The current public hearing notice timeframe for weed cutting assessments in the Oskaloosa Municipal Code says, quote, "The notice of assessment contemplated in this section shall be given not later than December 15th of the year and at least 20 days prior to the time thus fixed for such hearing, and shall give notice thereof to all concerned that proposed assessment is on file," end quote. Staff is requesting that the code be revised to be consistent with state code and amended so that the notice of assessment contemplated in this section shall be given not later than December 15th of the year, and then strikes out the part at least 20 days, and then revises with not less than 4 and not more than 20 days prior to the time thus fixed for such hearing, and give notice thereof to all concerned the proposed assessments on file. Do we have a motion of support for this first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on it? Roll call, please.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Ocean,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes.
Caligiuri,
Yes.
Dross,
Yes.
Hermson,
Yes.
Holmberg,
Yes. Okay, that passes. Item F. This is to consider motion on revisions to the complete street property. And so, on January 20th of 2015, by resolution number 150104, City Council adopted the complete streets policy. And it set forth guiding principles and practices for use on all transportation projects. Goal of the policy is to ensure safe and efficient walking, bicycling, and other non-motorized forms of transportation, and is applicable to all transportation projects where practicable, economically feasible, and otherwise in accordance with applicable laws. There are a number of policy exceptions. It includes, ordinary maintenance activities are considered, significant topographical or natural resource constraints, insufficient right-of-way to safely accommodate the new facilities, relatively high safety risks, the cost of accommodations being excessively disproportionate to the cost of the project, and it actually throws in a percentage of 20% or more. Detrimental environmental or social impacts that outweigh the need for the accommodations. Projects in locations where non-motorized use is prohibited by law. And finally, there is documentation. There is an absence of use by all except motorized users now and would be in the future even if the street were a complete street. So on January 7 of 2025, the council had a public hearing regarding the plans and specs for 8th Avenue West reconstruction. It was designed in accordance with the existing complete streets policy. And at that time, while none of the list of exceptions to the policy were met, council decided not to approve the plans and specs, partially as a result of the sidewalk features that would be added as part of the complete streets concept. So staff has requested the council consider the following options, making a motion how to revise the complete streets policy. Number 1 would be to leave the existing policy as is. That carries the risk of future projects being delayed. Number 2, add additional exceptions to the policy. And that would include locations where residents are opposed to the sidewalk, where a sidewalk leads to a dead end, or other criteria as directed. This would put more subjectivity onto the staff on project designs and continues the risk of the council not approving plans at public hearings and would be detrimental to the city's long-term goals of enabling safe and efficient walking, bicycling, and other non-motorized forms of transportation. And the third option presented is to remove the complete streets policy. That would have a significant long-term negative impact on the sidewalk connectivity through the city, but would remove any concerns with these concepts interfering with approval of projects. Staff also notes that if changes are made to the complete streets policy, there may be additional changes needed to the Oskaloosa Municipal Code to ensure the city's goals for sidewalks are met. And so staff has recommended council make a motion directing staff on how to update the complete streets strategy. We did have a work session on this earlier. There was some general consensus, I believe, on item 2 to consider adding some additional exceptions to the policy. So I'll throw that out if anyone wants to make a motion to that effect.
I'll make the motion for number 2 with additional consideration to the policy.
I'll second it.
Okay.
And that's not just sidewalks. We're not just talking about, we're also talking about street width. I mean, that covers that in there because it just strictly talks about sidewalks. I just want to make sure. Okay. Okay.
So-
Thanks, Sean.
So that's the phrasing, complete
Okay.
streets? It's not
Complete
that-
streets
that's fine.
policy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the whole thing.
Okay. Other comments?
But there's no specific, there's been no specific recommendations made to how we're gonna change,
That's
or
right.
or which exceptions,
exceptions.
what new exceptions might
Right.
be.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, and so,
Right.
so is that for a future meeting then, that we're gonna discuss what those exceptions may or may not be?
I think that's the best way to go.
Mhm.
That the council had a chance to get a taste of the complete streets
Right.
policy today. So we understand some of the theory and some of the whys of what's in there. And then as far as putting in some concrete, any additional exceptions that council feels is appropriate, I think that goes to a future day. And perhaps, well, in my opinion, it would be another study session where there's a chance to really banter things out and we could be talking, kind of like the complete streets policy when it was crafted. There were hours and hours and hours that went into making sure we got that right. Other-
I think that's a good, I think Mayor, I agree that because one, I think just one doesn't fit the whole,
Right.
you know, the whole subdivision,
Right.
you know. it's-
And I think
Sure.
having a criteria of what are exceptions and that, you don't want wild card.
Yeah.
We
Right.
want neon on this
We're
and
not
that.
ready to make
No,
that
we're not.
type of decision tonight, but
Right.
Yeah, and it would have to be sufficiently smart in the sense that it would remove as much subjectivity as possible so that
Right.
for the engineers that are doing the work, they know going in whether or not something is going to cause a problem.
Right.
Yes, I highly agree with that.
Right.
Okay.
But they would have these lists of criteria, like this might be, you
Well,
know,
yeah, as is.
and we
you
could
know.
add to that criteria.
Yeah, and I think that's what I read with the city council's opinion was the exceptions that were already in there were just fine, but there might be some additional.
Exactly.
Okay. Any additional comment? I kind of dominated the conversation here.
No, I agree with what you said. I just think as we work through it in the future, I think it should be very flow chart-like, so that way, when you get to the end of it, there isn't a question mark of, is this or isn't this? So
Yep.
if it's gonna take some
And
time
if
for
it-
us to
if it
hash
works,
that out in
it-
the future,
yeah.
I think that's just the thing that I wanna bear in mind is, I want to be able to come to a definitive end when they bring us a plan. That they
And if it's
saw it
working,
through.
great. If it's not working, then we obviously
Right.
need to revise it.
Right. But these are going to be the structural, the financial, the legal, you know, these are our criteria we look at. Because we just don't, we're not building a new community. We've got a lot of criteria in place, you know.
Okay. Got a motion and a second for the option number 2. Roll call, please.
Could I clarify language before we move
Yep.
forward? Okay, so this is a motion continuing with the complete street policy and directing staff to provide additional exceptions and return to council with their findings.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if staff has enough to work with to say what the additional exceptions could be. What are the thoughts of council on this?
my thought would be for existing roads sizing, if it's a dead end, kind of like 3 criterias to
But is that something that we as a council need to talk about, to then say, these are the things that we want staff to then make that specific recommendation? I mean, because I think what I heard when we talk about with the roads, I think Alex is saying we could design a road at 20 feet wide if we wanted to. There's no state code saying that we can't.
Right,
Now, none of us want that,
right.
But
I think we just,
you know,
eventually we need to break it down with, okay, current roads, is it a dead end? And then what is a new development? What are the criteria for those three sections? I don't think we're gonna get to that tonight, but that's where I would like to see.
Yeah.
And I think I'd like to see just like the provision we have on 8th Avenue West with the agriculture. I mean, are we going to be able to put a 22-foot combine down that road? If we're
Right,
not,
I don't want
We're
to-
not going to block somebody out of their property. But I mean, there's got to be some provisions in there. One isn't going to fit for everyone. It's just
Right,
not.
right. And I like Janet's division, there's some of the older grid-like parts of town, and that there's some kind of unique rural sort of outlier areas, and then there's brand new subdivisions. And, we've got different criteria in just those three categories.
I think we need to have a work session.
Another work session.
I agree, Joe.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
okay.
You need some research from us, not just,
Well,
Well, if staff has some ideas, that's welcome.
yeah,
And
so
then
if there are.
the council could bring up something, we'll just get together and bang heads and get it on paper.
Are there any, if there are other communities in nearby, so let's say draw a circle, say 50 miles around Oskaloosa, that also have a complete street policy, I'd be interested to see if they have any exceptions built into theirs.
Right. We don't need to recreate the wheel. They might have some good ideas
Yeah.
and some creative ideas. So we don't have to bang heads quite so long.
All right.
Actually, I sent an email out to the city managers group that I'm a
Oh,
part
okay.
of on specifically on this, and they sent me 3 or 4 policies.
Oh, okay.
They're pretty similar.
Yeah.
I think maybe they get them from each other.
They probably copied the complete street name.
Copy and paste, but
Right, Sean?
But there was like one example of an exception that I thought could be a good one that we could add is like a legal and or regulatory impediment or constraint exists. Is like, oh yeah, that's probably a good exception that we don't have in our policies.
Right.
But I can keep digging on that and just bring different suggestions that we can find.
Okay, sounds good. So, does that give you enough to work with?
I will take a step at it.
Okay.
Basically, you're giving staff direction to find more options for the complete street
Yep.
policy.
to
Yep.
bring to a work
For that
session.
session.
To
Good
bring-
job,
yeah.
Pam.
Yep.
To that end, I would also ask council members if they have an idea to feed into staff for consideration by full council. I think those emails would be welcome.
I do actually.
Can I throw one, just since you're already asking the other city managers? And since we have a kind of issue with the combine, could you ask anyone else if they have any like farmland access, if they have something already kind of provisioned out, just so we can consider it in
Right.
the future?
Yeah.
And like even in existing neighborhoods where we want the green space and the sidewalks, maybe there's provisions where they have to forego some of that so that their sidewalk isn't 2 feet from their, you know what I mean? Maybe there's there's got to be something for existing subdivision
Well,
areas.
there's a code. There's,
Yeah, right.
Setbacks.
Right.
Like on those properties, there's setbacks already.
Right.
What do you call it? I forgot now, from my P&Z days. But anyway, the setbacks, they're already there, established. In fact, if you go on 8th, you can see where the corner lot posts are put.
Well, but on South D where
The what?
where the sidewalk is so wide now that if they back out their part-time,
South D?
yeah, from
Yeah,
Second.
that's a sidewalk slash,
It's a shared
trail.
use.
rec
path.
trail.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's another story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
I don't want to see that happen again.
Yeah.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Ocean?
Would you phrase the vote?
The vote, or the motion is, directing staff to, evaluate the complete street policy and bring more options to council at a future work session.
To add option 2?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, then yes.
Okay. Olin?
Yes.
Caligiuri?
Yes.
Dross?
Yes.
Hermson?
Yes.
Holbert?
Yes.
Ibrahim?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item G, is consider a resolution setting the date for a public hearing on the plans and specifications for 8th Avenue West reconstruction project. So, Garden and Associates prepared the plans and specs for 8th Avenue West. City Council reviewed the plans and specs at their meeting on July 7th, and at that time did not approve the plans and specs. City Council members have submitted a request to reconsider this item, and so a new public hearing needs to be scheduled. The item would schedule a public hearing on August 4th of 2025 to consider the plans and specs. Scope of work is replacement of PCC pavement in the 8th Avenue West from South M Street to the west dead end and addition of sidewalk on each side of the street. Work includes, but not limited to, 1,215 square yards of PCC pavement, 256 square yards of PCC driveways, 255 square yards of PCC sidewalk, plus surfacing removals, subgrade preparation, subbase, site cleanup, and surface restoration. Engineering estimate, $192,138. Bids were received and opened on Friday, June 27th at 11 a.m. Council did not consider the results of the bid as the plans and specs were not approved. Bids are valid for 60 days, so it could be considered following the public hearing if the plans and specs would be approved. So staff has recommended approval of the item that schedules the hearing on August 4th. Do we have a motion of support?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
We just had this, so this is designed for 27 feet sidewalks on both sides.
This is to schedule the hearing.
The hearing. This is to schedule a hearing, assuming that the plans are as they were previously presented.
For
right?
27 feet and sidewalks
with no
on both-
modification.
No modification.
So we're gonna do exactly the same thing.
Right, it's
Okay.
just reconsidering the existing plan.
So I thought we had pretty good discussion and a vote, and a decisive vote, in that. I'm kind of interested why two council members want this reconsidered. I mean, I'm just
Sure.
asking for
I'll
motivation. If I don't
show.
understand motivation, I don't.
I'll show, because we have a complete street policy and they did it as spec'd out. Up until this particular issue where we had, again, a bunch of local constituents come and speak on it, we've passed every one of these. I don't think anyone's ever voted no on any of them. I think it's worth reconsidering. You can always vote no again, but I would like it just reconsidered.
But Abu, we just had this conversation that people aren't gonna have access to land, and we're gonna put it to 27 feet.
People aren't gonna have access to what?
that
Combine, it
farmland,
needs 22 feet. Joe, I talked to his team needs 22
Well, in the
feet.
first place, I don't know why there's a combine down on a residential street.
Because it's the only access
Well,
to
that's
that land.
not my problem.
That
The
is.
farmer, no, it's not.
It's historic
He's owned it for
precedent.
30, yes, that's his only entrance into that land that he's had for his whole.
Well,
I
How would you
wanna-
like to own that land, Joe, and not be able to access it?
There's plenty of land, I'll make a driveway somewhere.
No,
Where,
there's-
look at it on Google.
It's not, I'm not worried about that, I'm worried about the street in
So
the city.
going back to the issue before us, I think I can speak for the folks who are asking to reconsider, that this puts the whole street project into an area of unknown.
But-
If we don't consider it, then it probably throws it into next year, and if that happens, then it goes back into competition with all the other priorities for the city of Oskaloosa. And so it could or could not be approved as a street project next year. It could, however, it's a way of locking in something that people may not be happy with, but it is something that you've got a street, brand new, happening, might not happen next time.
7 of the 8 homeowners were here to
Well,
So I understand.
and I'm sorry, but my doctorate's in agricultural history. There are too many precedents for agricultural right-of-ways, passage, all of these things that just makes that question alone. And you may put in this $192,000 project and possibly get sued and have to tear it out. We don't know. I thought we had a great discussion. I thought the vote was decisive in that it was 6-1. And the Complete Streets project hadn't been brought up then, but it is now. I think we can rehash and make a stronger policy moving forward. So we have some good long-term policies, but there's just too much for me to question to reconsider
We work for the
this.
taxpayers. We
We
work
work
with
for-
we had, all the taxpayers showed up except for one. We work
Right.
for the
So the
taxpayers.
motion is to set a public hearing.
Yeah, the
Right?
motion is to set a hearing,
Yes.
which could enable that project to come back to life. Otherwise, I think it's basically dead.
Yeah, it's still dead. I
Right.
just would like us to be able to
So-
have public hearings, that way the next
Well,
road
it's not
doesn't
dead.
What?
If we reconsider it, it's alive.
If you reconsider it, it only gets a
Right,
chance
it
to.
only gets a
Just a
chance,
chance.
just gets a public
This
hearing,
is
they
just
can
for
come and say it
setting.
all over again.
I have a question.
I heard
go
a
for
Question.
Janet.
So, during that public hearing or whatever, is there an option that after you can do a change order?
Yeah.
No,
No.
We gotta go for bid.
Nope. The bid locks it in.
nope, it's,
So that
it
is
as is.
the exact design. that-
Yep, that they wanted sidewalks on both sides and 27 feet.
hmm So
Yep.
you can't take on that bid, just lop off several
Nope.
aspects
It's to,
of it.
it's to, basically what we're trying to do is see if we can still breathe life into that project. Because I think a number of folks were surprised that vote killed the project. And thus the reason for the two of the council members being willing to say, yeah, let's give it one more look, let's reconsider.
So I'll still say they still have the road as it is. It's still not getting any better. As we continue to debate what we want to do, the longer that road doesn't get done, and they continue out with this. So I think that's
Right.
also just worth consideration. That's
Right.
all.
But we want to set precedent, and so if we build one bad road, then we'll build another bad road, and then we'll build another, and so
We
we're
need to
just
make
gonna
sure that everyone
compound
was
our.
on the same page on that
Mhm.
road too also, because for the other homeowner that has all that land who didn't receive that and was asking when we were gonna let him know to narrow it, so I don't think everybody was on the same page on that, and that is his property, and he does have property on 8th Avenue West, 200 and some acres or whatever it is.
And if we reset a public hearing, he can then come to it, right?
Right.
So that's what we're trying to do right now.
Yep. That's
Set that public hearing, he can come have his voice heard.
okay.
But we had a public hearing. I
But
felt
he
it
did
was
come
in-
to it. We just said we want to give everyone their voice, but now we don't want to
I
set a
know,
public
but
hearing.
I'm still not.
You
Why
don't
do you
really
want to
think-
reconsider it,
I know,
Joe?
but now he has
Because
the
I
opportunity
revisited
to come.
this, and there's more information I received
Such as.
about the road. We have we have things set, standards set.
Joe, not every standard works for every road. It will
I
not work
know
for that
that.
road.
I
I've been
know-
on that road.
I
I've
know
worked
that.
on that road.
Mhm.
I
I'm
know
telling
that.
you.
So I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
go back to, what we're here to, this item is
It
just
was
to vote
just to
on
set
whether
the
or not
public
to
meeting.
have a hearing. To
Public
reconsider
hearing.
before we kill the thing.
We're not.
Any other comments?
We're not killing it. We're deciding on something. The phrasing that's being used on this,
Okay, kill it for this year.
it would be to postpone it for a better decision. That's not killing it.
Well,
It's not.
Project as
Your verb
designed
choice
stops.
is telling.
Okay,
Now let's vote on it.
I want a road on that
okay, you
street.
got a call for the question. Roll call, please.
Almond,
No.
Calgery,
Yes.
Dross,
Yes.
Hermson,
No.
Holmberg,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Ocean,
No.
Okay, passes 4-3. Okay, moving on, I guess that gets us to the end of our agenda. Reports from city staff, city manager. Okay, city clerk, anything?
Papers for the November 4th election for the open city council positions are available on the city's website.
Okay. Okay. City attorney, anything else?
Nothing, thank you.
Pretty well talked out for the night. Okay.
Use those words for you.
Yeah. Okay, city council members, Lisa, why don't we start with you?
Well, I would like to revisit the animal ordinance. I know we had several very well-spoken community members and concerns, and that I think there's a lot of ideas that we could do, and that. And I think too, I was talking to my neighbor who's an excellent dog owner, and her daughter brought home a pit bull, and they spent thousands of dollars trying to train that pit bull. They couldn't do it. But good pet owners in town would be probably amenable to a registration fee or something. I think there's ways to raise some revenue to get canine control, something that the police department is happy with, something that the animal shelter can live with as well. But I know in my neighborhood there are more dogs than people. I mean, that's the reality of the new world. And, there was one just running around yesterday afternoon. I didn't know what to do. I mean, it was just a big dog running loose in that. and little kids out there in a busy street. So, you know, we've got to revisit this project before somebody really gets hurt or killed.
And Lisa, if I could, obviously that issue came up before at one of the prior meetings. There are a number of aspects to that. I mean, number one, dog barking. Number two, animal
Right.
cruelty issues. Number
Right.
three, dangerous dog issues, those sorts of things. We are trying to get a meeting set. Ben's been in touch. We're getting
Okay.
a meeting set up to try to look at and address some of those things.
Right, right. That sounds very good. So,
I'd like to bring that to a future study session.
Yeah.
It's something that I'd like to kind of dig into fully, just understand,
Mhm.
what are the issues or concerns that maybe police has and animal control.
Mhm.
And once they have some time to really vet it, then we can bring it
Yeah.
here for some discussion.
yeah, I think that'd be very, very important for everyone concerned. So,
Joe?
Oh, nothing.
No, thank you.
I have a couple things. Just want to say that my heart goes out to the community of Elvia, of what they're going through. I know that we had a tragedy in our downtown as well previously, but what they're going through is going to be really hard, and so I know that people are needing some help. So if you are able to look for that on Facebook and reach out. Also, Sweet Corn Serenade is Thursday, so please come out and enjoy. And if there is potential of a rain that day, they will be moving the event, so be on the lookout for that communication as well.
No, sir.
Nope, I just want to thank the police department and the fire department. Yesterday's my son's birthday, so I went down to both stations and kind of hang out in some vehicles and see some lights, so that was really fun. Got some stickers. I got some stickers myself. So just want to thank everyone for that. That's it.
Okay. I have received a couple of really nice messages in the last week or so. One of them was from William Penn. Wayne Steinlage had said, by the way, it was an article, Abu Ibrahim, named Heart Athletic Trainer of the Year. So well done. Well
Thanks,
done. So you are now considered being considered for the NAIA National Award, with that to be announced in September. So there's only one in the state, and that be you. So congratulations on that. Second one was from the Senior Vice President of Assets for Community Housing, owner and management agent for Lincoln Terrace. So you may remember that property was hit by lightning, and then did some damage to the chimney, and then also the residents had to be evacuated. Power was an issue, and he sent a letter that probably about 3 pages long, talking the praises of the response that he got from the city of Oskaloosa. So he specifically called out the fire department and building inspector, who couldn't have been more helpful in assisting while we worked through repairs to the building after it was hit by lightning. The emergency response team, helpful on Thursday, aiding and evacuating the building to keep residents safe. Building inspector, who had gone well above and beyond to help on Friday to ensure repairs were started, and then goes on in detail for several paragraphs. But he just gushed about the kind of response the city of Oskaloosa had responded Thursday, Friday, but also the attention that was needed on Saturday and into the weekend, as far as getting residents back in there, getting the power turned back on, all of the challenges they bumped into. The city did very well, so kudos to everyone who was involved with that. You know, the Lincoln Terrace is it's one of the things we point out from time to time about, you know, these are some of the unique properties in Oskaloosa, and to be able to treat them with the respect that they deserve. It made me very proud, and I was happy to receive that kind of accolade. So with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Congratulations, goodness.